Hi everyone, welcome to our CRCC Asia live Q&A session. My name is Tyler DeVici. I'm one of the USA admissions advisors here with CRCC Asia. Very excited to be hosting this Q&A session to hopefully address some of the questions and some of the areas of interest that you may have that you want us to talk about while we kind of have this time to talk. So what we would encourage you all to do is if you could log into your YouTube account and post a question at some point in the sidebar there. We will be addressing the questions as we see them come in. Otherwise, just have kind of a general outline of some information that as an admissions advisor, I think would be very beneficial to a variety of groups, whether you are completely new to CRCC Asia and you don't really know much about us, if you've been doing some research, or whether you are in the process of applying or have already been going through our application process. Think that this would be very beneficial information for you, so happy to share that. So again, if you could post some questions in the side, at some point we will see them come through and we will be addressing them. But I guess to kind of just start from the top. So once again, my name is Tyler DeVici. I'm one of the USA admissions advisors here at CRCC Asia. Myself and my colleague, Andy Radelet, basically will be handling all of the applications from both North and South America. So if you are applying to our program from and you are living in one of those locations, you will be working with either myself or Andy through the entire admissions process. So from the time you submit your application to conducting an interview on the phone with either Andy or myself, to then if you are accepted and then, we end up going through placing you and all of those, processes, you will be working with myself or Andy. So it's very great to meet you unofficially over the webcam, and I look forward to working with you. So kind of a little bit more about CRCC Asia, if you're unfamiliar. We are the leading provider of international internship programs in Asia. Our first program kicked off in 2008, which was Beijing, China. Since then, we have provided international internships to well over 7,000 students globally. We work with undergraduate students, graduate students, people who are no longer in university, to provide them with these, international experiences by placing them in internships in sectors of their choice, by providing, allowing them to build their network, allowing them to, put themselves out there and travel overseas, experience different working cultures, experiencing all of these wonderful things that can come when you are interning and living in a foreign country. We work with well over 600 companies worldwide. We are now spread across 8 cities. They are Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, Tokyo, Osaka, Manchester, Ho Chi Minh City, and Seoul. So we have a variety of locations, each offering their own specific pros in terms of sector placement, in terms of cultural benefits and cultural uniquenesses that people are drawn to, and ultimately what location you're drawn to is going to be up to you and what you're interested in. So if you've not already checked out our website and read a little bit about that, please feel free to go on and check that out, and see some information on our website. And you can navigate, each program location and things like that, read about our sectors. So kind of, quick announcement, we're very excited to be entering into, like I said before, Osaka as well as Seoul, South Korea. Those are our 2 new program locations, brand new. Next summer, 2019, will actually be the first year that we are launching those programs, both of them. So we are very, very excited to be breaking into both of those industries. Both cities offer their own unique kind of complexities and kind of, placements and certain sectors that they are very strong in. So we're very excited to have those on board for us. So if you're interested in either of those, places, you would be the first group being sent over next summer. So, okay, as we see the questions come in, we will definitely address them. But one of the things we can kind of talk about right off the bat is the application process. So if you're at all unfamiliar, we can kind of just jump into it and give you a brief outline, some information that you may find to be beneficial. So essentially, your first step is really going to be going onto our website, of course, www.crccasia.com. Again, you can navigate a variety of different pages. You can read about testimonials from our past program participants and kind of hear about some things that they've been doing, what they really enjoyed about our programs. You can also read about testimonials from some of our university partners. If you're partaking in a university trip and you want to read more about that, you can read about, again, our sectors, the variety of industry sectors that we typically place interns in, and of course our 8 different program locations. So when it comes time for you to be filling out your application, it's a fairly simple process, but I definitely have some tips that I think would really be beneficial for people to just kind of know about and really to help you in navigating the process. And of course, what to expect as we go along the line. So the first step is going to be going onto our website and going to the navigation, in the top right corner where it says apply. If you click that link, that's going to basically open up an application page for you where we're going to ask you to kind of fill out a bunch of information. Of course, your name. We want to know what university you're currently studying at, or if you've recently graduated. We'd love to know about what you've studied, your major, and then we're also going to ask you to fill out your top three sector choices. So these are going to be the top three choices of internship placement that you would like when participating in one of our programs. There is a 1, 2, and 3 choice, so we do ask that you actually place those in the order from most interested in and most what you want for your number 1 choice, and then of course second and third choice as well. The reason why we do ask you to consider that is because when it does come time for our placement, when our business teams work to eventually place you in a company, of course their number 1 choice is going to be your first choice sector, but if there are certain things, whether it's the industry of that sector in a specific location or just how competitive those placements tend to be, they will make the decision to probably then move to your second choice and then, of course, subsequently your third. So very important that those are placed in the correct order. We also would say you are going to place, if you have any specific location choice. So again, we're in 8 cities currently. Ask that you do some research and kind of learn about each location and kind of decide which one you're really gaining towards. We do actually have a fair amount of applicants who place no preference on our applications in terms of not having a specific bias to any one of our locations, which is perfectly fine. We have a lot of students and applicants who are doing that. That gives us a little bit more flexibility when it comes to your placement, which I'll kind of talk about a little bit later in this Q&A session. But yeah, consider what location really stands out to you. Think about why that location is intriguing to you. Is it because of the sector choice that you're interested in and it's very prominent in that location? Have you previously lived there? Have you have friends that have lived there? And just kind of consider that. And then we also have a variety of add-ons to our programs that we would like you to check out when you're filling out the application. So for example, if you're doing an internship program in China, are you interested in adding on an intensive Mandarin course? So we do work with a company called Mandarin House, which is a Chinese language school, and they connect our students with Mandarin lessons during their program. So that is something that you can take part in if you are interested. So you can read more about that on our website. Another opportunity that we do offer is called the Dragon Trip, which is a travel opportunity currently operating in both China and Japan. So if you are interested in doing some travel either before or after your program, we connect with this company, the Dragon Trip, that does backpacking travel trips across, again, both China and Japan. So you can read more about that and kind of read some of the itineraries on their website as well as our website. So once you filled out the application, there is going to be a notification sent to all of the admissions advisors, again, depending on where you are located. So if you're North or South America, it's going to go to Andy or myself. We are then going to send you an email that basically says, thank you for applying. We appreciate your application. We then take a chance to look it over. And the next step for you is going to be setting up a time for us to conduct an advising call. So that is going to basically be a conversation between us and you on the phone. You will speak with either Andy or myself for, roughly 20 to 30 minutes. It doesn't need to be this super formal conversation. It's really just for us to kind of get to know you better as an applicant. We want to hear all about your skills, all about your experiences, your interest in the sector. We want to learn all about kind of what you are as an applicant because, of course, your application is limited to the information that is provided. I just see a question came up from Matt. He says he wants to work abroad in the future and just wondering how a program like this can benefit my future prospects. Of course. Well, Matt, that's a great question. I think that's a question that gets brought up a lot, especially when it comes to partaking in such an important opportunity and investing your time and money into an international opportunity. There are numerous benefits to participating in an international internship experience. I think one of the most prominent ones would be expanding your network, your professional network, and also your personal network. Internationally. So you're going to be working in a foreign country, in a foreign company. You're going to meet many people, from that country. Maybe they're expats from other places around the world. You're going to be learning from them, working alongside them, collaborating with them. This is really going to benefit you in terms of, the people that you're meeting, the experiences you're having. It's going to give you a chance to kind of see your industry from a different scope, because of course, working in, say, engineering in the US is much different than working in engineering in China or Japan. It's going to give you kind of a much better view at different working cultures. What is the workplace environment like? How is the hierarchy treated? How are business relationships treated? How is the work-life balance? It's things that you can, in my opinion, can only really learn fully by experiencing them firsthand. You can hear about these types of things from your friends and read articles, but by participating in these types of opportunities, but on your own, you really are getting the best glimpse at what you can experience. Obviously, another one of the big ones is you're adding on this international experience that in turn is going to make you much more marketable for employers. So we are finding, and it's really no secret nowadays, that employers are looking more and more towards applicants that have international experience. That is something that a lot of applicants won't even be considered for certain jobs if they don't have that international experience. I think that it really speaks volume to a lot of different things. It really shows that a person has an open-minded character. The fact that they're able to step out of their comfort zone to challenge themselves by traveling to a foreign country where they may not speak the language, where they may not know about the culture, about the day-to-day life, again, or the working culture. But they kind of consider all of that, and they still are willing to go and take on that opportunity because they want to better themselves, because they want to learn, how to better kind of overcome difficulties and overcome challenges that they may face. That does show a lot about your character, and that's a really good, character trait. Open-mindedness is very good to have, specifically in a lot of different areas of the workforce, and it can be something that can translate very well to your job as well. We have another question from Kevin. Can I do an internship in a sector that I don't do a major in? I'm interested in finance, but don't study finance. Kevin, great question. We do kind of base the placement a lot on a variety of things. So studying, say, finance in school, that's not necessarily going to inhibit you from being placed in finance if you're not studying finance. We would ask you during this interview call if you have any experience with finance, whether it be work experience. Have you done internships? Have you done any volunteering? Have you done any, are you in a club at school, anything related to finance? Have you done some work on your own, some freelance work of anything, in that sector that you're interested in? That's going to be something that is really contingent upon your host company. So when the time does come for the business teams to be advocating on your behalf for basically placing you in a company, the company is kind of going to look at your application. We're going to ask that you also send us a resume that we can then forward to them. And they're ultimately going to make the decision as to whether or not that is going to be a good fit. Most companies also ask to do their own interview. So when that kind of comes time to happen, a lot of times the companies will reach out to us to connect you and the supervisor, and they would like to connect their own interview, which then, that's when you would have the opportunity to explain, any past experiences, any past work experience, volunteering, clubs, and just kind of talking about, even if you don't really have any experience, some sectors really, that might not be a huge deal. Some sectors, it's going to be very difficult, if not impossible, to be placed in if you don't have certain experiences and certain, skills and abilities within that sector. But that's going to be very contingent upon the location, the sector, the host company. So, Kevin, that's a great question. I hope that I answered that for you. But don't let that discourage you. That's also why we do ask you to place a second and a third choice. And while we do have this interview call with you, we would be kind of asking you more to elaborate on, why are you interested in this sector? Even if you don't have any work experience, this is a really great first step for that. I see another question. We have Nancy asking, what exactly is included in the program fee? Great question, Nancy. So I can kind of touch on that a little bit right here. We offer basically two kind of programs. I'll talk about the first one, which is by far our most popular. It is it is our CRCC Asia internship program. So in the program, tuition for that is going to include a variety of things. The biggest is going to be obviously guaranteed internship placement in a sector of your choice with an English-speaking supervisor. So that's one of the big draws to our program. We do not require any type of language skill to participate. If you do have that, excellent. But all of our participants are placed in an internship with an English-speaking supervisor. You also are provided fully furnished accommodation for the duration of your stay. Most of the cases it's going to be fully furnished apartments, in which case you will have your own bedroom, and most of the time you will be sharing the apartment living space, so the living room, the kitchen, with a couple other participants on our program. They will be students, so you will be working with students and living with students who are also in our CRCC Asia programs, and they could be from all over the world. So that's a really unique experience to kind of meet new people and expand your personal network. We also will be working with you to obtain your visa. So you will need, because it is an internship, you do need a proper working visa for whatever country. Even if you have a visa, if it's just a tourist visa, that is not going to work in most cases. If not all of them, because you do need a specified working visa. So we will work with you to get all of the proper documentation put in. It is going to cover the cost of that visa. It does not cover any shipping or expediting fees. So if your visa does require, rapid shipping, that's not going to be covered in the program tuition. We also cover airport services. So if you are able to arrive at the airport on the specified arrival date between the hours of 9 a.m. and 9 p.m., we will actually be picking you up from the airport. One of our CRCC Asia staff members will be there to pick you up and drive you to the accommodation, which is great. It also covers various cultural events that are hosted throughout the program duration. So we do cultural events such as, calligraphy, karaoke, dumpling making, just kind of fun things to introduce you to the culture. And also we host several business seminars. So we could have panel discussions, presentations from entrepreneurs, from business executives in the area. So that will also be included in the program tuition. You also will receive a public transit card as well as a SIM card for your phone that will have a specified kind of already allocated amount put on them, but you will probably at some point have to top up on them, just depending on how much you utilize the SIM card and then the transit card. And also we do include, of course, 24-hour emergency support from our CRCC Asia staff. So in all of our program locations, we have offices with CRCC Asia program managers. Some of our accommodations do have RAs, so like live-in assistants, to be there to help you with 24-hour issues. The one thing, we do not include airfare, so you will be responsible for getting your own plane ticket and arranging your own travel, as well as travel insurance. So we do work with a company that we can provide you with information to get the best rates for travel insurance. So great question, Nancy. We also do have a second program option that is a little bit less utilized. It's basically our placement only program. So the tuition for that is going to be much less, and that's because basically the only thing that is provided in that package is the placement in an internship, again with an English-speaking supervisor. And we also will work to provide you with a letter to get your visa, but you are going to be responsible for all the processing and all the costs associated with that. So that's pretty common amongst people who say they already have, say Chinese working visas and they live in China and they don't need to have accommodation. They don't need all of those other things. They just need the internship. But that's a pretty rare case. It's most of the time people who participate in our internship programs that has the accommodation and everything. So I guess we can get back kind of on track. We were talking about the advising call. So again, this is a very important step. This is going to basically be the opportunity for us as admissions advisors to, again, get to know you better, you as applicants, and hear about your experience. So once you submit that application, we will be sending you an email with our links to our calendars, where we ask that you book a time slot with us that is convenient for you, so that we can call you on the phone and again talk to you about all these things about your experiences, what you're interested in. So basically, there are some tips that I could give you in just preparing for that. Again, it's not a super formal conversation, but it does help ahead of time if you have some things, kind of thought about. So we're not just, really kind of taking up all of your time, because we want to be conscious of that as well. So a couple of things we will ask you to consider while we are conducting that advising call is going to be consider your 3 sectors. So why did you place them in that particular order? Why did you choose engineering as your first choice? Why did you choose finance as your second? Why did you choose NGOs as your third? Do you have any past experiences? Again, we're going to want to know all about your past experiences with all 3 sectors. Past volunteer experiences, which if you're studying any of those, we want to know all about, kind of why you think you'd be a good applicant in that sector, because some of them are very competitive, and we want to make sure that you are. We do have as much information on you as we can when it comes time for us to speak to the companies. I see another question coming in from Susie. I'm doing an internship in Seoul next year, and I was just reading the toolkit, but there isn't much info. Do you have any idea on what kind of host company is there? That's a great question, Susie. So yeah, Seoul is very much still in the beginning stages. It's going to be our first summer next summer that we are hosting it. We do plan to have a host company in every single sector. There are certain sectors that we are expecting, just based off of the industry, to be a little bit stronger. So Susie, I will jump into that further into the session when we do talk about locations. So hang on to that question. I will get to that in about 5 minutes. So again, with the advising call, we want to kind of know more about your sectors. We also want to know when you are looking to take part in the CRCC Asia program. That's going to be very important when it comes to determining what locations are available for you. So for example, some of our locations like Beijing, Shanghai, and Tokyo, they are the most popular. So they pretty much have internship programs running every month of the year. Some of our programs are much more less available. So that's going to be something that we really need to, kind of hear about in terms of when are you interested in doing this program. So just please, think about that. And, just also think about kind of what works best for you. So if you wanted kind of an idea, most of our applicants would take part in an internship in the summer months. So anywhere between, early to mid-May to late August, early September, because for one reason pretty much, which is university break during that time. Some people are able to fit an internship into the months, the holiday break months. So, December, January, but it's really going to be contingent upon what you want to do. So we will work with you on that. Also, please consider your location choice. So more importantly, why do you want to go there? And also, are you flexible with this program location? The reason why I bring that up is because just to kind of give a general example, the nature of the industries in certain countries are, it just kind of allows for more competitive or more plentiful placements in certain sectors. An example of that would be engineering. So for example, if somebody is really dead set on engineering, let's say they're interested in interning in Shanghai, when we are talking with you on the advising call, we are also kind of hearing about what you're interested in so that we as the admissions advisors can kind of discuss with you the possibilities of your first choice sector being, feasible in your location. So with the engineering example in Shanghai, Shanghai does not typically have a very strong engineering sector. We would most likely ask you, again, how flexible are you with this choice? Because we could point you in the direction of, say, Shenzhen, which has a very strong engineering sector. Because if you are pretty set on that sector choice, we want to just make sure that we are telling you just realistically how plausible is that. So think about how flexible you are. Again, there are several applicants who specify that they have no preference, and that makes everything a little bit easier on us because we can kind of take a look at your sector choices and determine which location would be the best for that, and then we can obviously talk to you about which one you would be interested in most. And again, that's also going to be related to when you are looking to take part in the program. Another thing we do ask is language skills. So again, this is not something that is required out of us, but we do ask that if anybody does have an advanced language and you are pretty confident that you have reached near fluency or even fluency, one of the things we would ask you is to, if you've not done so already, take the standardized exam for that specific language. So for example, for Japanese, there is what's called the JLPT, which is the Japanese Language Proficiency Test. That pretty much gives an objective kind of numerical score as to how versed you are in the language. The reason why we do ask that is because some sectors placement is very contingent upon language ability. So if you are interested in one of those sectors, we will make you aware of that. And if you are not, fluent in the language, we will kind of make you aware that, placement might be a little bit more difficult. But again, placement is always in, a sector with an English-speaking supervisor. And kind of last but not least, we also ask you if you're familiar with the prices of our programs. Of course, the prices are going to be different based off of the length and also the cities. So, just based on the cost of living in certain cities, some are much more expensive than others. We also will ask you if you're familiar with any promotions that we are currently running. So, for example, right now we are running a pretty big promotion So for any students who are partaking in a program in 2018, if you do end up paying your entire program fee in full upfront, instead of in the normal installments, you actually will receive $500 off your total program fee if you are one of the first 5 students from each of our locations to take advantage of that opportunity. And then subsequently for 2019 programs, if you pay that price in full, you actually will receive $1,000 off. So that is a pretty substantial discount. I think we still have many of them available. So if you are in the process, and you have been accepted and you are looking to try and take advantage of that, please know that they will not be available for long. So just want to keep that on your radar. So that's going to kind of be a little bit about the advising call. Again, it's this, just a nice conversation for us to, build that relationship, because we will be working with you a lot throughout the process. So now we can kind of jump into a little bit about our sectors and also our locations. We'll start off with the sectors, because it's important for you to kind of have an idea of what is kind of a general idea of each sector and tasks that you could possibly expect when being placed in that sector. Obviously, it is contingent upon location. Before we go into that, we have another question from Nancy. Will the program be 100% internship, or is there opportunities to explore too? Great question, Nancy. So essentially, the internship is a full-time internship. So for most of them, that's going to be, 9 to 5, 9 to 6, Monday through Friday, depending on the company. Some companies are more flexible with the hours, but it will essentially add up to full-time. Another thing to consider and remember is that our internships are unpaid. That has to do with visa restrictions in the localities, and that is something that we do not control. So all of our internships are unpaid. So Nancy, we do have travel opportunities. Again, if you're interested in China or Japan, you can take part in that Dragon trip, which if you go to Japan, it actually happens before your trip, and China, it's after the trip concludes. You will have weekends, to explore. And you can ask any of our CRCC Asia staff members if they have any recommendations for fun day trips or fun weekend trips. So that's definitely something, you are abroad, you want to do exploring. And we also have several cultural events, like I said before. So in, weekly cultural events, bi-weekly cultural events, calligraphy, dumpling making, dance, dance lessons, drum lessons, just things to better introduce you to the culture. And sometimes those can, take you out, off-site. If there are certain events that are set up. So great question, Nancy. Hope that answered your question. And another thing to consider is with these events, they are very diverse. With our groups of interns are always very diverse. We have people from the UK, from the US, Australia, Asia, Africa, Europe, from all around. And so that's really exciting, because again, you're going to be meeting students from universities all over the world. And if some of them are in the same sectors, you guys can, share experiences and connect on LinkedIn and things like that, and just build your network while, having a great time and building, very long-lasting relationships. So now we can kind of jump into our sectors, like I said before. So this is kind of just a very general overview of certain, general placements that we have had in the past. So beginning with business. So business, of course, very broad. During that admissions call, we are going to be asking you if you are interested in business. We're going to want to know a little bit more specifically about what you're interested in. Business can encompass anything from, developing marketing strategies, recruiting sources, organizing projects, working with clients. Marketing is also another one of our sectors. Marketing can, of course, fall under business. So there is a little bit of overlap. So again, that's one of those things to just keep in mind and make sure you are being specific as to what you're interested in. Engineering can kind of span a variety of sectors. So, engineering can also be IT. We have some environmental engineering, working with manufacturing processes. Some of our companies work with 3D printer applications, factory visits. Some of them are more so on the marketing side. Some of them, can be on the technical side, depending on your skills and your experience. Moving now to finance and accounting. So working, with accounts payable, accounts receivable, venture capital, investment research, that can be, again, pretty broad. We do have a pretty large span of finance and accounting. Sometimes that is going to be limited based on language. So if that is something that we bring up to you, please just let us know if you have any language ability, because that can be something that would determine placement in some accounting companies. Green technology is our next sector. So, working with sustainable energy and sustainability and just, what's interesting about green tech is sometimes there's collaboration with government organizations, because sometimes these governments are also working to try and, further the green tech sector. So, you can be working with project management, working, in lab research assistance, assisting with paper writing even. So that can be very exciting for people who are interested in sustainable energy, natural energy, things like that. So now hospitality, which can encompass a lot of different things: hotels, apartments, education, events, travel. We have students working in hotels, working in large apartment complexes, working in restaurants, helping to plan events for these companies. So that could be quite exciting. And tourism also kind of falls under hospitality. We have also IT, so coding, software, cryptocurrency, web design. One of the big things about about IT that we will ask you is what coding languages are you versed in? Because that is, again, going to be a pretty big determination of your placement. So if you have a profile on the website GitHub, which is a kind of place where people can, share their coding experiences, we will ask you for that information so that we can share that with the companies when we speak with them. But that's a pretty big sector as well for us, and it spans a lot of different tasks. Moving into legal, so working in law firms, helping with drafting legal documents, translating documents. Sometimes if you have the language ability, reviewing contracts and legal documents. We then move into logistics, which can fall under business. So working with coordinating projects, creating proposals, inventory, invoicing. Logistics, can span, again, that's going to fall a lot under business. So please try to be specific when we speak with you about logistics. Marketing, PR, and advertising, 3 different sectors within just one. Video marketing, social media marketing is a big one. A lot of companies in a variety of our sectors need help with marketing. So if you're interested in marketing, say in the healthcare field or the legal field, we can a lot of times make that happen, because a lot of these companies do need assistance with marketing and their advertising. Media creative, so that can mean anything from news, TV, photography, graphic design, art. That's going to be pretty exciting for a lot of people who are very, working in that creative sector. We might ask you to submit a portfolio to just see kind of some of the work that you've been doing. And also for certain, graphic design or creative internships, they might ask you if you do have experience in, say, Photoshop, InDesign, Publisher. So please, if you have that on your resume, if you don't have that on your resume, if you could please include that, that's very helpful for us. So now we move to NGOs, non-for-profits. So that could be working with children, working with animals, working with the environment, community work, social media promotion. Again, a lot of those companies really need a lot of help in their marketing and social media sectors. Pharmaceutical and healthcare. So we have students working in hospitals, shadowing doctors. We have some lab work, working with medical devices and creating, pharmaceutical technologies and things like that. So that can be pretty exciting. That's another sector that's pretty contingent upon your experience. Real estate architecture, so designing build-ups for architectural companies, building models, producing presentation material, working with clients. We have global real estate companies, attending client meetings. So the architecture side of that is another one that's pretty contingent upon your skills. And then last but not least, tourism, travel, which, like I said before, kind of is encompassed within hospitality. So doing market research for travel agencies, travel photography, helping to promote travel agencies and working with these agencies. So all of our sectors, we have a lot of placement in each of them. Again, it is very contingent upon the location. So we will work with you to see kind of what is the most realistic possibility for your interests. So now to kind of jump back to Susie's point, I would now like to overview just briefly our locations. So we do have 8 locations, like I said before. The first of them is Beijing, China. So Beijing was our first location that we had a program in back in 2008. It is the capital of China. Beijing, actually, fun fact, will be the first city ever in history to host both the Summer and Winter Olympic Games. So, of course, back in 2008, hosted the Summer Games, and it is actually also the site of the upcoming 2022 Winter Games. We have a lot of placement in Beijing for marketing, for business, and also for the legal sector. And it has a lot of history to that, a lot of wonderful sites to go see within the city limits of Beijing. Next, move to Shanghai, which is our most popular location. Shanghai has a lot of business, a huge sector for finance, basically the finance capital of China, essentially. It is the largest city in China by population, has about 24 million people. We also have a pretty fair share of marketing and PR and advertising placements in Shanghai. Next, we'll move to Shenzhen. So fun fact kind of about Shenzhen, basically up until about 1980, it was essentially known as just a small fishing village. And then it had kind of this huge technological, industrial boom that really has risen it to a very forerunner of, the Chinese economy. Huge on technology. It's estimated that about 90% of the world's technology is actually produced in Shenzhen. So naturally, we have huge placements for IT, for engineering and software, and also a fair amount of finance and business placements as well. Next, we'll move to Tokyo. So Tokyo, this was actually our first year doing Tokyo program, so we've had a lot of really good feedback. It's grown pretty quickly in popularity. Tokyo is the largest metropolitan area in the world, has about 38 million people in it. And, with the Japanese culture, in the regard for others that they have, it is a relatively clean city, which is very interesting given how many people live there. We have a lot of placements in media and creative, a lot of tourism, a lot of hospitality, and of course, a lot of marketing and PR as well, and also a fair share of IT placements. We will now move into Osaka, which again is one of our 2 new programs for summer 2019. So Osaka, it has some similarities with Tokyo, but also still has its own benefits. In terms of just geographically, it's a much more centralized location than Tokyo is. It's right next to Kyoto, which is the ancient capital of Japan. So it creates this very interesting paradox between Osaka being a large, metropolis with a lot of skyscrapers to kind of then, you have Kyoto, which is kind of where all the famous temples and gardens and shrines are. It's really this very interesting compare and contrast between those two. So kind of to address Susie's earlier question, we are hoping and planning to have a host company in each of our sectors. But in terms of Osaka specifically, and I know you asked about Seoul, Susie, I will get to that in a moment. We are planning to have a good representation of business, marketing, IT, and also green technology firms in Osaka, just given the industry and what we've been looking at so far. Now we can move into Seoul to go back to Susie's question. So very excited to break into South Korea. Seoul is a very fascinating city, has a lot to offer. South Korea as a country is very navigatable because it's quite small. So for example, you can take a train from Seoul, which is all the way up in the north, to a city, say like Busan, which is down in the south, in basically like 3 hours. So, a 3-hour train trip from Seoul, you can be in Busan and you can go to the beaches. That's a very popular vacation spot. We are expecting a pretty fair share of marketing, business, IT, finance, and also tourism and hospitality companies in Seoul as of now. So now we can move into Manchester, which is our one location that is actually not in Asia. Of course, Manchester is a very unique city that offers a lot. It's notable for its architecture, for its culture and musical exports. Obviously, you have huge historic sports clubs like Manchester United, Manchester City. We actually do have some placements working in sports clubs, doing a variety of tasks. So a lot of marketing, a lot of PR, a lot of advertising in Manchester, as well as finance. And of course, we also have some NGOs and non-for-profits there as well. And last but certainly not least, we have Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. This was, again, our first year doing Ho Chi Minh City. We've gotten a lot of really good feedback. Ho Chi Minh is a very interesting city given the history. So there's a lot of still Western style architecture and influence from when it was a French colony. One of the most famous attractions and places to visit in Ho Chi Minh City is the Saigon Notre Dame Basilica, which is this huge kind of orange-brown church building located right in the middle of all of these, skyscrapers. And Ho Chi Minh City, just on the industry and the economy there, it has a very low cost of living in comparison to some of our other program locations. So it's reported that you can get actually a pretty decent meal there for roughly around $2 US. So if you are interested in a city that's a little bit more easier to budget in, Ho Chi Minh is probably a really good option for you. And again, for all of our program locations, we are running that big discount, the $500 off the total program fee if you pay in full for 2018, and $1,000 off if you pay in full for 2019. And again, that is limited to 5 promotions per location. So we already have had students take advantage of that. So please, if you are interested, please do not wait much longer because they will not last very long. So now we can talk a little bit about some kind of just general frequently asked questions. And of course, we will kind of end soon, but again, if there are any last minute questions, please throw them in that question bar on the side. So some of the more frequently asked questions that we get asked as admissions advisors, I can kind of just talk a little bit about. Let's see. So we do have a lot of people asking about any scholarships or funding opportunities available. So once again, we do have that promotion running right now. If you are a university student, one of the things we would encourage you to do is to go and talk with your university study abroad office and see if they are offering any type of scholarships or funding opportunities for people who are taking part in internships abroad. There are also a lot of independent organizations. A big one is the Freeman Asia Scholarship, which basically provides funding for university students who are taking part in international internships in Asia. In comparison to Europe, Asia from US students is typically sometimes much more underserved. So there is a lot of money for students from the US, from North America, from South America, to travel to Asia and partake in experiences there. So do some research on the internet. You can also look at our website. We do have some links for resources for funding. Let's see what else. Can I change program location is another question we do get asked. So there is a chance for you to be able to change your program location. Basically, the way it works is when you do receive an acceptance offer from us at CRCC Asia, you then will have 1 week upon receiving that acceptance offer to pay what we call the $500 acceptance fee. That $500 acceptance fee is routine across all of our programs, and paying that fee basically solidifies you an internship in one of our programs. It does not necessarily lock you into the program that you've chosen, whether that be the location or the time frame that you've chosen. So that just basically guarantees you a spot. That $500 can be used towards any of our programs. Once you've paid that $500, you then have another month to pay the first installment that we call, which is basically 1/2 of the remaining program fee. So that the total program fee minus that $500 you've already paid. Once you pay that first installment, that half program of the program fee, that is when our business teams on the ground in whatever city that you're looking to travel to, they will start working on your behalf to collaborate with companies to essentially find you a placement. Once you have paid that fee and that process begins, you are pretty much locked in at that point because our companies are utilizing their resources to find you placement. So if you do commit to a program and you've not yet paid that $500 and you do want to change, please let us know as soon as possible. We are flexible. We can work with you. We can sometimes offer maybe a 1 week's extension on paying that $500 program fee, depending very heavily on when you are taking part in a program. So if that is something that you need because you are having trouble with funding, just please let us know. That is definitely on a per situation basis. All we ask is that you communicate that to us as your admissions advisor so that we can be on the same page with that. So let's talk a little bit more about the Dragon Trip. So that, again, that is a travel opportunity that we have. We work with the Dragon Trip, which is a company that provides traveling opportunities currently both in Japan and China. It's like a backpacking sort of trip where they have different itineraries, different loops that they call it, where it's depending on where you're going to be traveling. You can read about the itineraries on their website. We have specific CRCC Asia itineraries that we work with them on to create. We do have a lot of students who have really enjoyed them. So if you want more information about that, just let us know when we are on the phone with you. Yeah, and so kind of just some last minute things I just want to make sure I touch on before we do conclude this. Once again, if you are interested in reading about some testimonials from some of our past students, please check out our website and at crccasia.com. You can read all about testimonials from either students who've gone through our programs, universities that we've worked with all around the world, and read about what they've been saying. If you are interested in participating in a program, you want more information, you can feel free to contact us. Again, it's going to be based off of where you are located, but if you are in North or South America, you can feel free to email either myself or Andy. You can give us a call at our Philly office, which is 267-534-2973. You can also find Andy or my emails on our website. If you go to the website and you look at the About Us tab, and then you look at our staff, you can find myself and Andy on there, and you can find our emails. We have another question from Jessica. I was wondering if during the internship program in the weekend there are activities or completely free. Great question, Jessica. So we did talk about that a little bit before. Sometimes the cultural events do take part on weekends. They do try to plan them at times where they think people will be available because, of course, they want to have the biggest turnout. So sometimes those cultural events or those business events do take place on the weekends. That's going to depend on, when your program is. But sometimes, you will have weekends free. You can plan your own travel. You can visit other places throughout your country. Depending on your visa, if you do receive a multiple entry visa, you can travel, out of the country. We do ask that you do notify us of any extended travel, just so that we are aware and we don't, be concerned that you're missing or anything. Just keep us updated on that. Weekends are a good opportunity for you to hang out with other people from the program and go do some exploring on your own. That's really one of the best ways to experience more about the culture. We don't really just include an internship. Our program is a, kind of an all-encompassing program where you are, of course, taking part in an internship, but you also have this wonderful new country at your exposure, and it's really yours to go and really, go free your mind and experience all that you can. I encourage you, of course, to travel, go enjoy yourself, go see, what all of the cultural activities, things that the locals are doing, and take part in those, and try to meet people, and just have a great experience and make memories and go explore. That's really a great way to just, kind of further your open-mindedness and really just see what that country has to offer. So great question, Jessica. So I guess at that point, everyone, we will end this session. Thank you for all of those who have tuned in. And thank you for posting all of your questions. I hope that I did get to all of them. If there's anything that was unanswered, please feel free to, again, email us, give us a call, check out our website, and we will be sure to get you any information you may need. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We hope you have a wonderful evening, and we will talk to you very soon. Bye-bye.